All right, so this is the after party. Stu's already pushed stop and edited that bit, so thank you, Stuart, for all your post-production at 5 o'clock in the morning.
No problem. It's now time for you to show us Lego.
Lego! What Lego? The
Thank
Lego
you,
behind me.
Thank you, Stu, for bringing up my image and getting us out of that craziness when we lost Ollie and the wheels were falling off the cart.
Like I said, I'm the glue.
You're the whole chassis under this thing, Stu. Come on.
I just like the way he says glue.
Glue.
It is pretty amazing, too, given that it's 3
There's
a.m.
E and a W in there somewhere. Yeah, that's right. 3 a.m. for Stuart.
How many pints have you had, Stuart?
You've seen him, Lily.
I'm on my first drink just now, but I'm getting there. It was a bit rubbish when it was cold, so I was letting it warm a little bit. So it's a brown ale, a nice brown ale. So.
Actually, I have to agree to a certain extent, Stuart. Now, the English are mocked around the world for their choice of drinking warm beer. But I tell you, sometimes a beer comes out of the fridge at, like, whatever it is, 4 degrees or 2 degrees or something, and that's way too cold. It needs to be like 6 or 8, I think, is a good kind of temperature. Otherwise, you can't taste it, man.
Yes, so this is one that was made supposedly in memory of Robert Burns. I bought it for last week's show, which obviously got replaced, and so I had a whole story to go along with it, but you're not getting that until next year.
Next year.
Such a tease.
Yes, it's a yearly thing, Burns Night in
For
Scotland.
Burns Night, yeah. Gotta enjoy Burns Night. Do you have some bangers and neeps?
No, it's haggis, Mason. Haggis.
Haggis. Oh, I must be thinking of Fox Night.
Yes.
I get all the Scottish holidays mixed up. All I know is that there's beer and some sort of food made out of pieces of the animal they couldn't sell to the British.
Absolutely, yes.
Stuffed in a skin of some sort.
Yeah.
Yes. You've probably had just about as bad stuff in a hot dog at some point, though, so you know.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gino, if you're still watching, I got your tweet. Thank you very much. Gino has agreed with us, or myself probably. I'm not going to get you guys in trouble for that. Gino has agreed with me that he is a waste of time, so that's right.
If Gino's
If
still watching, I want him to know that I miss him dearly. I loved having his camaraderie on this show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He called you Mason. He was quick to congratulate you, Mason.
Well, thanks, Gino. Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it.
He didn't waste time. He added some flavor, and hopefully maybe he'll come back as a guest at least, or just a guest hangouter.
We should have Gino come in with one of his own images and compete.
Yeah, Gino can be the rogue agent, right? Always. He'll just surf the internet looking for someone to represent. The infiltrator.
I really I like that you brought the image in for us to critique and have the apprentice do it during the show. I thought that was a really fun element.
Yeah, it was brave of that guy.
Yeah, very brave of them, and especially at sort of quite short notice, because I think we only got in contact with them yesterday, Ollie, so it all came together at the last minute. Ollie would like to speak, but he's filling his mouth with a whole load of sweets as usual.
What is that thing called, Ollie?
Is that a red hot?
It's a bit sour cherry thing.
Yeah, Jaffa. Yeah.
Jaffas.
A kiwi icon,
Chocolate.
just like Ollie.
Orange chocolate. That sounds amazing.
Oh, it is. It is.
It totally is,
really
man.
Yep.
You guys are missing out. I mean, you guys have a lot of cinnamon stuff in the States, but we have a lot of everything else.
Well, I'm starting to wonder if it's like Willy Wonka down there. It's like candy everywhere. All this great candy.
When every tooth in your mouth is a sweet tooth, there's a lot of candy around.
Like every other building is a dentist's office.
Don't talk about dentists. I hate them.
So
They get in the way of me and my candy.
For at least an hour.
Every time.
I like to go to the dentist with my mouth full of candy. They open up. I say, "Do you want me to spit this out? Can I finish it?"
My dentist claims that I'm stealing my children's candy all the time, and I have to argue with them and tell them, no, it's all mine.
Yeah.
Do you have Halloween?
No, for some reason it might be the angle of the Earth, but the Southern Hemisphere doesn't have October the 31st at all.
Ah. So do you have anything on October 30th that you do, like take a bag of sheet out, a pillowcase out, and go ask the neighbors for candy for your kids if you dress them up funny?
We were in the States in 2013 for Halloween, and I have to say the States knows how to do Halloween. Last year, 2014, on Halloween, we didn't get a single person knock on our door. It was really boring. So yeah, we just don't do it the same way America does it. But I have experienced a true Halloween, and it is, man, like every kid on the street had a sack full of candy, man. I don't know how they survive.
I think it's probably our best holiday. It's really the only one with no family drama and no hours wasted in the kitchen. It's just go out and have some fun. I would say by far the best of our holidays.
I think you're right, David. I didn't realize that I think you nailed it as to why it is, and it's definitely growing every year. It still seems to be becoming more and more. And Ollie, I think I would keep my kids away from you if you were here on Halloween. You'd steal all their candy, and they'd go cry, and then we'd have drama, and then it wouldn't be funny.
I was very well behaved. My kids were fighting with their cousins about who was going up the steps first, so it was quite a lot of fun.
I'll add for adults too. If you get the chance, the day or two before Halloween in Las Vegas is a fascinating time to be in that weird town, because then you see the guy in, say, the Elvis suit, and you don't know if he's on his way to a costume party or he dresses that way every day.
Every day. Every day's Halloween in Vegas.
There's where my sister lives in Vegas in a really nice area by a country club resort. There's a gated area, not where she lives, but off where the estates are, and these people, you wouldn't believe what they do for Halloween. They just go all out crazy with making incredible haunted houses that are done by like set decorators, and open their houses not only with candy but food and wine and drinks for all the parents, and people driving around with decorated golf carts and open bars on the back of them. It's quite an experience.
That's cool. Yeah, the Americans know how to do candy, that's for sure.
We lead the world in obesity.
Arguable.
Don't take that away from Scottish people.
And diabetes.
Yeah. So, Stu, you asked about photos. I've got a couple. Since I just got back from Hawaii, I haven't processed a lot of stuff. But first, I've got a Instax. I guess they call it that. The Fuji little Instamatic camera. This is a shot of me from the top of Mauna Kea volcano. Last week we went up there. A couple friends. I was traveling with my family, my wife's side of the family, and one of my apprentices is a guy named Kal Mukamoto, who is the boyfriend of my wife's sister. He's my brother, and we went out and photographed a lot together. And we went up to the top of Mauna Kea, which is 13,790 feet. I have no idea how many meters that is. I'm sorry, you guys. And it's just, we were 88 degrees when we left, and an hour and a half later it's 31 degrees and blowing about 25 miles an hour, which it was brutal. And I've been down to 75 below zero in Alaska. This felt colder because of the altitude. It was incredibly cold, and we were kind of prepared for it, but not really. But got some decent shots. It's such a beautiful place. I'll screen share a shot of Brian Matiash, who's a well-known Portland photographer. He and his wife Nicolzi were also in Hawaii, and we met up on the top of the mountain in our twin red Jeeps. There's mine on the left with Cal sitting there trying to warm up his hands, and my Fuji camera up on top, and there's Brian's on the right. Brian made about 10 minutes outside before he just couldn't take anymore. Went and sat in the Jeep until he descended. But the night was absolutely clear up there, which is why it's considered the best place in the world to put out telescopes. And so this is one of my last shots from up on top. This is the actual summit up there at the end of the road. A couple of big telescopes. There's about, I think, 13 or 14 of the world's largest telescopes up there, from universities and science institutes from all around the world. And we were sitting up there, and there was probably 200 people up there for sunset, and lots of Japanese tourists and things, whole van loads of people up there. As soon as the sun went down, everybody just split. They headed back down the road. And we stayed out, and pretty soon the ranger came by and asked us to leave, and I told him we wanted to make some star photos. And he says, well, we're not really supposed to let people stay up here at night. I said, well, we'll be really careful. Where there's two of us, there's two vehicles, we'll be extra safe. He says, okay, well, just check in at the visitor center when you come down. And he says, you'll be the last two people up on the mountain. And I said, well, what about the people in the telescopes? He goes, oh, no, there's nobody up here. Those are all remote controlled from down below. Which, here I thought these scientists were hardy souls sitting up there at 13,000 feet, trying to breathe while we're operating these things. And evidently they're all sitting down at 10,000 feet, drinking Mai Tais and operating the telescopes by remote control. But it was pretty cool. It's definitely an otherworldly experience, and something I would love to do again with better gloves. So.
Excellent. Anyone else have stuff to share?
Well, actually, I could follow sort of right up with that. As I've been running around here in the dark in Montana the past week, and getting ready to go up to the Arctic. Here, hang on, let's see. But I guess I'd trade. I'd rather be going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can do this right. Hang on. Let's see if I can start up the screen share here. Let's see. Screen share. There we go. Can you guys see my screen?
There we
Yes.
go.
All right. So I teach 2 winter photography workshops. I teach one in Yellowstone National Park, and then I teach one up in Churchill, Manitoba, in a Northern Lights and Aurora photography class. So over the past week or so, I've been processing a lot of photos from previous years, auroras, nighttime, stars, and then I've been hoping to see the aurora again right here in Montana. So this is one from the edge of the Arctic, a panorama I stitched together just the other day. But this was last Tuesday night. That yellow glow in those mountains there, or the yellow glow over the mountains, that's a hint of aurora. That's the mountains of Glacier National Park. And there are no lights over there. This shot, not my favorite, but this one, this was one of the frames from a time lapse I was shooting. Really thrilled with this one. For once, I actually caught a shooting star. Not a plane, but actually a star, and a little bit of green glow basically over Canada from where I live. So a hint of aurora the other night, but nothing like what I'm hoping to see up in Churchill, Manitoba again in just a couple of weeks. But Mason, this was a warm night, barely gloves needed here in Montana. This was your -50, -60. They don't make mittens that work well for this. No. And let me stop the screen share here. Hang on one second. Where's that window? And of the things I wish that Canon would do for their cameras, two things. Could we please backlight the buttons? Because they're impossible to push. You know, the little buttons up and down the side.
Yes.
Why aren't they backlit yet? Come on. How hard is backlighting? And two, someone at Canon should be given a pair of oven mitts and asked to operate their camera. Because there are just, like, it's ridiculous. For folks like me who chase stars and auroras, could we just have big turny knobs, please? Is it too much to ask for? I'll trade back 20 megapixels for something I can work with my gloves on.
So, David, I have to ask, have you ever used a Cam Ranger?
I do. I have a Cam Ranger. I even have the moving tripod head that it will talk to.
Okay.
And I have a pair of those gloves so you can work the iPad with them on. Better, but still not perfect. But a sign of, I think, better things.
What I was able to do was hook the Cam Ranger up to my camera and then go sit in the Jeep and take photos.
Mm-hmm.
Which, really is cheating, but it's so easy. Sit in the Jeep and drink a coffee and take photos and eat chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. It's pretty rough.
Well, and for me, it's one of the reasons to learn time-lapse techniques is I can set the camera up when it's really cold and just let it fire away. And like that shooting star, that's just, I mean, on the one hand, it's luck. On the other hand, that's what you get out of hundreds of basically repetitive frames. So, but all of them so I can keep my fingers in my mittens.
Yeah, go somewhere warm and let your camera work.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about the Cam Ranger for us?
Yeah,
It's
a pretty simple device. I've actually got a couple of devices I want to talk about tonight, and this came up. I believe this was a Kickstarter that successfully funded. Now you can just buy it, but it's a really simple Wi-Fi antenna that connects to a Canon or Nikon with a USB cable. So it doesn't go into the remote cable port on the camera. It goes into the USB port, and it essentially tethers your camera to an iPad or an iMac or an iPhone. And what you can do is, I don't have mine handy here, but what you can do is you can focus, you can do live view on your device, you can change all the settings of the camera, operational settings, not the fine-tuning stuff. But it's really a pretty amazing device, and you can review your photos. And so I have an iPad mini Retina, and it gives me that big screen, and so there's a lot of times I'll be out shooting at night, and I'll set my camera up, and I'll just stand back with the iPad and operate it remotely. It allows me to use that big screen, and I can review the focus and make sure the finer details are good. The only problem I have with the Cam Ranger is the battery on these things is really weak, and it tends to die in the bag. And there's been several times I've taken it out to use it, and it's been dead as a doornail. So having an external battery, like Gino likes to wear around his neck, and plugging it in the car and making sure it's juiced up before you use it is a good tip, because they don't last long, especially in cold weather.
Right.
Cute little device. They're really clever. And somebody knew what they were doing when they came up with that one.
And what's the price range on that?
I think it's like $200. I can't remember. It's been a few years since I bought it. But it was more than I wanted to spend on a little Wi-Fi antenna. But I've got to say, the app is really nice. The app that goes on the iPad is really nice. And so I think that I'd like to think that the money's going to a couple of people who have worked hard to design this, and they deserve every penny. So the other thing I wanted to share, if you guys don't mind, since I got it here, it was waiting for me when I got home yesterday from Hawaii. I backed this company on Kickstarter several months ago. They're called MagMod. You can see that. You get my light off it. And they created these attachments for your flash unit, and I've got a Canon speedlight here. And one of the things I don't like about the speedlights or any of these off-camera flashes is it's really a pain in the butt to attach gels and things like that. I used to tape them on. I used to use the little Roscoe gels and tape them on the head. And these guys came up with this silicone. It's a stretchy silicone band that goes around the head of the flash, and it's got magnets in it, really powerful magnets. And then you can just pop the gel on there, and it's got this nice big gel. And then you can also put a grid. So the reason I got it was not so much for the gels, but for the honeycomb. You can pop that on there.
Oh, nice.
And if you want to really grid it up, you can put 2 on there. And they just stack
Do they have a
up.
softbox?
Well, that was what they were missing, but they came out, long story short, because I'm really bad at short stories, I ordered a set of these, and a guy stole them off my porch. And so I called up MagMod, and I said, hey, somebody stole the package. And he said, oh, I'll send you another one. Really sorry about that. And I'm like, wow, I don't think you stole it. I appreciate that. Thanks. And he sent me another package, and I really liked his customer service. I think it was the guy that invented it. I think he's a one-man band. And so I got this set, and I was so pleased with how it works. When he came out with this new Kickstarter, I jumped right on it, and it's the softbox. It's called the MagSphere. And all this stuff is silicone. This is it's just silicone.
Great. It doesn't break in your bag.
It doesn't break in your bag. It's kind of big. I got to say, this is the speed light with it on there.
Yeah, but big is good, Mason.
That's great.
But it gets better. They also have, this thing is kind of really ridiculous. The Mag Scoop. So, and look at this.
Is it a snow shoveler?
It's like a Muppet. It's really floppy. And so you could, play with it. But I haven't used these yet. I literally just opened the box today. But the attention to detail on these is really amazing. The magnets are really strong. The quality of the silicone, everything is really tough. I've never had anything fail or break or even come close. Even the packaging has magnets in it. So this is the cardboard box that the Mag Sphere came in, and it's got a little magnetic catch in the box. I mean, the guy obviously spent a lot of time thinking about every little bit of the minutia behind this, and so I'm impressed. So if you're somebody who uses off-camera flash, or even on-camera flash, I guess, and you want to modify it, and you're tired of taping things on there, think about MagMod. I think they're worth the money. So,
I'm going to recommend it to one of my apprentices.
What's that? I
said I'm going to recommend it to one of my apprentices who's he does a lot of work in the Galapagos, and he lives in Ecuador, and he has a couple clients that he does a lot of work for, taking pictures of inside of cabins of the boats and things like that, and he's always having a struggle. We're trying to help him get out of his photos having such a harsh flash fill and all of that. So that sounds like something, and he needs to keep everything very small packaging. So that might be something good for him. I'll have him check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like I said, I think these small entrepreneurs, these Kickstarter people, really are worth supporting, because this is a guy that invented this on his computer using some sort of 3D software, printed some prototypes, 3D printed them, and then figured out the manufacturing and sells them. And when he got this Kickstarter together, he sent out pictures of them. He got all his friends together to box everything up. I just love that cottage industry. So much of what we spend our money on in photography is going to some big corporation, and I love that this went to somebody in their garage. Besides, that thing looks cool. I'm gonna fire it off.
Gina, have you seen the link that Trey sent about the Kickstarter project for the iPhone 6, I think it is, where you put the lens on and the remote so that you can basically hold the iPhone like so and control it with your thumb?
No, I haven't. Where did he?
I'll see if I can find it, or someone else might be able to find it quicker. But yeah, it's on Kickstarter. It's still live, I believe, and it looks really good. So especially for you and Ollie, with the video work that you're doing with the phones and things like that, that looks really, really special. I think it can help a lot of people, and it is Kickstarter as well. And they're a nice group. They've done it before and turned out a terrific product and delivered on time and so on. So it might be worth having a look. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'd love to get it. That would be great. I'm always looking for new stuff to pass on and test out for the iPhone. There's a film at Sundance right now that was shot all with the iPhone. That's doing pretty well, and there's a if I could, I wrote it down the other day and looked it up. There's an anamorphic lens adapter that they used. That same thing, you know, Mason. That somebody was a Kickstarter project, and it looks really cool. And
Cool.
it's amazing, you know, what can be done. My biggest issue that I have and that I'm running into most lately is there's this gelling effect that you get when you're shooting video with the iPhone. If you get a strong wind or any kind of, even sometimes if I'm out in weather and the water hits the screen or something. And it's not a vibration of the phone on the tripod, it's just the sensor. Which is kind of it is annoying. And when I hear about production being done with an iPhone, yeah, you can get all these great accessories and stuff, but I'm still wondering how they're able to really capture these images with the processor and stuff. So it's always fun to try and figure this stuff out. Like how can I turn this little thing into, you know, what a 35mm film camera, motion picture camera.
Stuart put in the chat the link, but they've got they needed 100,000 and they've raised 307,000 and they've still got 23 days to go.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna open it and check it.
Have you tried, Gina, shooting on the high frame rate on the new iPhones? Has that gotten rid of some of that jello?
Sorry, you broke up, Ollie. Can you say it again?
Yeah, I'm in New Zealand. The internet's crap. Have you tried shooting at the high frame rate on the new iPhones? Does that get rid of the jello?
Well, I have the 5S. I don't have a 6 right now, and it was happening even with the the high frame rate. I was shooting some slow-mo stuff up at Yosemite by the falls, and I had a slider, and I was really up in the rocks, and it was raining, and I did some really cool moves, and I was really excited to get them back on the computer, but as soon as I got it big, I could see the gelling happening, so I was kind of disappointed in that, but because it would happen when the water drops would hit the screen.
That's weird. Were the water drops hitting the touch screen causing it to try to refocus or something?
It could be something like that. That's what I'm there. You know, Mason, you're probably right, because I was trying to figure out. It does feel like it's trying to refocus or do something like that in a way. And I wonder if the wind if it's just picking that up too. Like yesterday, I was by the coast, and it was a really strong wind. The same thing happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. But if I find out anything more about it, I'll bring it up to you guys.
Now, Ollie, I did a lot of slow-mo stuff in Hawaii. I was playing with the camera on the iPhone 6 a lot, and really, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
It is fun.
And I was playing with hyperlapse on the flights. When we flew out of Kona, we flew over to Honolulu and then sat around for 3 hours before we flew home. And to do a hyperlapse of the takeoff and landing and then watch it at 6 times speed is a trip. Just how.
That's awesome.
Yeah, get this to show up without the glare. It makes you feel like you're in warp speed and it takes off.
Yeah. That's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, these phones are amazing.
I had something to share with you, fellas, because I thought Mason would appreciate this probably most of all. this is a video I shot recently, and this is just a very small section of this video. It was for an art exhibition that was going to be happening at a place called Silo 6. But this is actually the location of the image that you brought along to your Creation Wars today. This is where Guy took a photo inside these silos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's quite used an old grain silo thing that's still down at the waterfront. Now they just kind of leave it there. But yeah, massive place. And so he stood inside the bottom of this one on the right and looked directly up. And the windows in between the silos are what's giving you those lines up the sides and through the middle. So just thought I'd share that.
Wow.
And Ali, is this? Are you shooting this from a small helicopter, or is this a big helicopter?
No, it was a drone.
The drone. Oh wow.
So I just realized that I was clicked on Mason for that. So everyone watching just saw Mason going, oh, look at that, that's cool.
Whoa, that's cool. I was watching.
Cool.
Oh, there we go.
I'll do it again.
I was watching.
There we go.
To give us the link so we could see it nicely.
Yeah, so that was from a drone. You can kind of tell by the really extensively warped edges of the frame, but they're good fun, those things. All right, anyone else sharing anything else? Jack, what's been going on out in the world of the interweb? Has anyone been saying anything interesting?
Oh, we've just got a lot of people hanging out in the Twitter sphere right now. Just sharing the links that you guys are providing. So yeah, getting some good interaction tonight. I'm just trying to fill in Tiff's shoes, man. She's amazing. If I could do half as good a job as her, call it a success.
Yeah.
So Mason, Tanya, however you want to say it, sent me a private message, as she tends to do, just to give me a little bit of ribbing. She wants me to tell you that it wasn't her who said you'd had 5, it was me. So there you go.
Last I counted, Ollie, you said it was 8.
I think it's 8 now.
Definitely 8. Yeah, definitely 8.
Let's just
That's
round
8
it up
losses.
to 10.
It was 8 losses and 2 wins. So.
8 losses.
Yeah, but you got 2 wins out of it.
As long as you keep adjusting the spreadsheet that Trey started,
Once
I'm
you
gonna
get past
all-
11, Ollie, we know you're lying because this is episode 11, so he can't have any more than that.
Yeah, I'm going to get serious for a second because there was a question posted in one of the chats, actually in Ollie's cohorts chat, partway through, talking about symmetry, and it was a very valid question. So I want to know what you guys think of it. So Theor, who's in Ollie's cohort, said, I'm wondering about symmetry comments recently. People complain when it's not perfectly symmetrical, but somehow it'd be easy to just mirror whatever you take to get perfect symmetry. The asymmetry may bring some real photo kind of feel to the images, which could be better. So what do you guys think?
I'll jump in. Trey has successfully pulled off some mirror effects with his cityscapes, and that can be really cool. But I find that a really masterful symmetrical image will always have inconsistencies in it, and this shot from Guy is a great example. You know, the lights on the silos and the ladder was not exactly the same on both sides. It's not a truly symmetrical structure. But if you can line everything up, I'm always talking to my apprentices about a deliberate thoughtfulness that we should approach our photographs with, and that's why I always tell people, if you're not shooting something that's really fast moving, it's great to be on a tripod because it makes you slow down, think about how everything's lined up, think about how things interact with the corners of the frame. And I think that when I see a photograph that has the potential to have a beautiful symmetry about it, and it doesn't, it makes me think that person didn't take enough time to kind of work it. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, I line up with that as well, Mason. I think if it's deliberate, then it has to be perfect. And then when it's perfect, there's no question, is it a mistake or not? And then if you're not going to follow it, but you want the sense of symmetry, then it has to be off enough and deliberate enough for people to get that's what you're actually trying to achieve from it as well. Otherwise, you're left with that question, which is fine. If that's your intent as the photographer, then that's okay. It's your image. But you have to, at that time, also have to expect people to say, well, is that deliberate or not? And you have to be prepared to field those questions.
Cool. Thanks, Les.
I want to comment on it because I was going to state earlier, based on the photo we were judging, Guy's photo, we may have, as I look, I've been comparing the two, the original one and then the one we had him edit. And as I look back at the original one, we may have pushed him too far to be way too symmetrical. There was something more interesting about the first one as I look at it, and it kind of does this rotation to my eye, like I'm spinning into it. And when I look at the edited one that we had him straighten things up and be a little bit more symmetrical, it feels flatter to me, and it might not be as interesting as his first attempt. So while there's symmetry in it, there's something very real and that I like about the original one that gives me that feeling of falling into this place. So I don't know, you know, I agree with what you guys are saying, and what works in it is there are the 4 cylinders that are really truly symmetrical, but the way the light is kind of shifted a little bit, I kind of think it works better now the way he originally did it. So I don't know if that really addresses his question, but it's the same topic of symmetry.
Did you have anything to add, David?
I was just going to say that in the quote rules of photography, symmetry can be both a rule to follow and a rule to break. That sometimes images that are very symmetrical feel very well balanced, but that balance can also be not very challenging to the eye, where when you break a pattern or tilt on purpose, that can be a much more engaging composition. And so I think in the end, I have to say it depends. Sometimes this will work really well. Sometimes it won't. It's really based on the scene and the artist.
Cool. Oh, I'm sure Theo will be very happy with those responses, and he'll have to rethink his entire outlook on life.
I just wanted to point out something that I noticed. I don't know if anyone else noticed it. That Stuart referred to Tior, as I pronounce it, as being an Ollie's cohort, not our cohort, Mr. Stuart Davidson. Why
He
would
did just recently
Stuart?
You did kick me out, so I can't see it.
Yeah, the screen came up and it said, level 20, are you sure you want to like send him up out into the great blue yonder with nothing going on up there and all the rest of it? And I was like, yep, see you later. It was a pleasure to have you in the cohort, Stuart, so you'll be sorely missed.
Yes, it was a pleasure to be in the cohort. And that's why I sat there and just tried to clutch on to whatever I could off the furniture so I wasn't getting kicked out for so long.
How are your level 1s going? Oh, I beg your pardon, Sphere 1s going, Mason? How close are they getting?
You're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
Or something.
Sorry, I had the kid button on. The Sphere 1, my folks, I've got 3 or 4 people at level 17, a bunch of people at level 11, kind of a few scattered out. I've still got about 8 people back in Sphere 0, the initial 9 levels. So I've got people spread from level 5 all the way up to level 17 now. So it's quite the quite the peloton. Very spread out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You
How's
think
yours
it's working
going?
with the? Yeah, we've got a handful now in Sphere 1, and one's getting pretty close to ready to go into. Well, she's prepping for level 18 as we speak. So yeah, she's knocking on the door. We've got another couple that are lining up. I've got a heap of critiques to get through in the next few days as well. So yeah, I think it's making a difference with the number of images that they're working through now. I think in the prep it's kind of, I don't know, not made it easier, but I think the volume has changed things a little bit for them, and I think we might see the quality rise a little bit in the overall album. It's just my feeling, you know, but I think it's been a little bit easier for them to step through.
Yeah. I've got I think several of my folks have slowed down, waiting for Sphere 2, kind of doing a stew, throttling back.
Yeah.
And I've told them, look for finishing up in March if you want to go right into Sphere 2, because I think I'll be ready to go, March 1st or so. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear what other, and this isn't meant to be a Masters mashup, but I think people watching this that are waiting, like Stu, who are waiting to hear Sphere 2 plans. I think that it's an exciting time, but it's also, I think everybody's a little bit nervous because it's this frontier, right? And we're all comfortable in the fort, but we're not sure we want to open the gate and push off towards the mountains.
I think the term you're looking for is event horizon.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's that thing that's just there, and we don't know what's on the other side of it, and it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited about it. I'm building my first Sphere 2 experience right now, and having a lot of fun, just kind of coming up with ways of making it more fun for apprentices. So I'm looking forward to it as a master, and I know that there are apprentices who are itching to get into something new. So I think it's just a matter of time, and it's that whole beta stage, The interesting thing for us masters who've been here right since the beginning, and the apprentices, is that we're going to be beta testers pretty much for our whole experience of the Arcanum until we quit or leave or die or something, because we're always going to be the first apprentices, the first masters to get to the next event horizon, and I think that's pretty exciting. That's where I want to be.
It is.
That is exciting.
Yeah. It's also muddy, It's
malleable, not muddy.
I'm still using my Frontier. Event Horizon is for people who have Lego sets of Star Wars on their desk. I'm more of a West Coast, North America, Wild West kind of guy. But, yeah, Ollie, did your power go out? Are you having any clips in New Zealand?
Oh, yeah. Like, literally, the sun has moved now. The sun tends to do that quite often. So you'll notice at the beginning of the show, an hour and a half ago, it's in a different position now. So, it's not burning the top of my head.
Down, all the lights are off. We don't see we don't see a lick of you.
Yeah, we don't get to see you anymore.
Oh, well, that's fun. That's how it should be.
We just talk to. It's sort of like Charlie's Angels. You'll just be a voice from now on. Talk to.
Actually, I was just following his Vimeo page.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's the Creation Wars page. Who knows what we're gonna get? But so Stu, I want to know, and Jack, I guess I'm curious to hear from you too. What do you guys want out of? What do you guys want from Sphere 2? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, that's a killer image too. Very nice.
Thanks,
well, I
Stu.
figure if we can't see Ollie, we can at least bring him back.
Oh, he made
If
it
I could
back.
only boot you out of my cohort, I would.
Yeah, you go, Jack.
I was just gonna say personally. I mean, I'm at level 11 now, but I'm looking forward to just the discipline specific stuff. Some more focus challenges, a closer relationship with the master who understands what my goals are and wants to just really focus on where I want to go. I think that's what Sphere 2 is going to bring.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's that focus thing again. So there was an obvious change going through the levels with Ollie between the very general Sphere 0 and then the much more focused Sphere 1. So I expect even more focused approach in Sphere 2. But I think there might be more opportunity, or I hope there's going to be more opportunity for me to help develop the levels that the master would set for me within that sphere. So rather than them say, right, these are the 10 levels, it might be, okay, what do you want to achieve, and let's build levels around what you want to achieve. And I think if that's the experience, then that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. It's kind of I've been developing my Sphere 2. I keep blocking on the name of this. Developing my Sphere 2 experience, and it's not a genre-specific experience. It's very goal-based, and I'm wondering if I'm not on the right track with that. But it sounds like someone like you wants to have a say. So basically, just as a preview of my idea, is the first level is going to be developing the goals that you're going to satisfy in the sphere. And that the subsequent levels are going to be meeting those goals one by one, and then there'll be critiques, which will be the assessment phase. And so, for me, I've got a cohort with landscape people, street photographers, people who kind of do a little bit of everything, and I don't know if they are wanting to quite focus just yet on one genre. Somebody like Bruce, who won tonight. You know, he's a travel photographer, but he's also an excellent wildlife photographer. So I would know that he would actually really enjoy working with Les on bird photography, but he'd also want to continue to do travel as well. So I could see him doing a Sphere 2 experience with someone like Les, who's going to help him further his bird photography, but maybe do another Sphere 2 experience where he gets to work on his travel stuff.
I think the cool thing, at least how I understand it, is he can do a Sphere 2, and follow his travel photography passion, but then maybe in Sphere 3 he does an experience with Les to follow the wildlife piece of it. And I think what I saw is your level's not necessarily how good of a photographer you are in a specific discipline. It's more of a, hey, this is how far you've gone within the Arcanum. So I think it kind of leaves it open to people to keep changing masters if they'd like, and just really focus on the things that they want to learn.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting. Hey, Ollie, I don't know if you know this, but there's a guy walking around with equipment behind you. I don't know if he's taking it or is he working there.
He's knitting all my stuff. I thought my screen was blank. I didn't think you could see that. No, that's Fabio. Fabio's a camera assistant and all-around. We call him El Burro because he tends to do all the carrying of stuff. So,
did you say his name is Fabio? Fabio is a famous model in the United States. I
thought you called him El Burro. I thought you called him El Burro because he knocked all the stuff around there. It sounds like he's throwing things.
Yeah, he's a little bit careless sometimes. Love you, Fabio, but yeah, we do call him El Burro. He's the guy who basically sets the cameras up, and then I come along and push the button and take all the credit.
Wow, I wish I could get there someday.
Yeah, it's called film. So talking about Sphere 2, I like your idea, Mason, because I think there's going to be room for all of that stuff. Like my Sphere 2 is a filmmaking sphere, and it's specifically for those photographers who've come through the first two spheres and like photography, obviously, but have shown that they're proficient in photography, but then want to learn some skills around how to do film. And so I'm targeting a real specific market. There'll only be a certain number of people who want to do that at Sphere 2, But that's kind of what I want, and I still think there's going to be more people than I can handle, and Gina as well, and whoever other masters come in to do film. But at the same time, someone like Stu might come out of my cohort and say, look, I'm quite happy to keep going down the landscape path that I'm doing, but I want something that's malleable, that I can kind of choose what my levels are. And in one sense, I like the idea, but in one sense, I think how much work is that for a master, and how replicatable is it to be able to say everyone gets to choose what they do at Sphere 2. But at the same time, if you can provide a framework where it's goal-based, that kind of covers all the bases.
Yeah, how I saw it was, since it's goal-based, they do the work. Honestly, I'm just there to monitor their progress and keep them on their goals.
Yeah.
And if they say at level 21, I'm going to learn off-camera flash and figure out how to do that with my equipment and take portraits with off-camera flash, then I'm going to be watching and saying, okay, I think you've made it. That if that's your goal, these 20 photos that you posted seem to show that you've grown and accomplished that goal. So let's move to goal number 2. It's time to level up. And actually, I don't know how the other masters have found this, but level 16 and 17 in the existing Sphere 1, for me, has been a test drive of this idea. For me, a lot of my people like Bruce, for instance, he can't go redo shots because he's not going to go back to India anytime soon. So he said, can you just come up with a special challenge for me? And then level 17, of course, is a master's challenge. And so what I've been doing is going back to their goals and saying, well, you mentioned in your goals back in level 10 that you wanted to do the X, Y, and Z. So let's go for that. And I think that it's working really well. And I find for my workload, it makes it very clearly defined that this is, when they reach the end, they're going to say to me, hey, I think I learned what I was going for. What do you think? And I go, yeah, it looks like you have. Let's go. Move on.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, some people will want to be told what to do. Like in my Sphere 2, it's all about, okay, you need to learn camera settings for film. You need to learn, you take your photography composition and add that to film. But then there are other people who are going to, like Stu says, want to be able to create their own challenge and then go and achieve that. So, the cool thing is that we're all doing something different, and it's going to appeal to some people.
Yeah. Yes, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I'm, I want to take your Sphere 2. I want to learn more about video, or as you call it, film.
Me too.
Yeah, I've dabbled in it enough. In fact, it's weird. I got an email today from a production company in LA that wants to license some of my video. I've made more money selling video clips in the last couple of years than I have selling prints, and I don't do video.
Don't tell anyone.
I want to go do more video because people like it. People actually pay for it.
Yeah, my time-lapse clips are much more sought after than my photos. Yeah. And the time lapses were set up so I could stay in the car where it was warm.
Yeah. It's really, I'm sorry to spoil the secret there, Ollie, but I want to learn more video because I enjoy doing it. I find actually it's improved my photography to do video. And I interned, in college I studied video. I was going to be a videographer and work in TV news, and then I got tired of working with the reporters. They're buffoons, and so I went into still photography, so I didn't have to deal with, dumb bimbos. But, I love the crossover and the fact that our equipment can do both, I have a 5D Mark III that makes incredible video, and I have these little things that do really well. This is a 4K camera. It just blows me away. Not that one. No. This one. This one's a 4K. I took a bunch of video with this in Hawaii, and I had a blast. I'm not going to go scuba diving with my, DSLR. I'm not going to pay $2,000 for a housing when I can buy one of these and go take video.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. Yeah, I actually find that someone asked me recently, why am I doing film instead of photos anymore? Like what's the attraction? And there's a book of attractions for why I like doing film. But one of the things is that my stills jobs, even to this day, are measured in hours. Someone will ring up and say, hey, we need you for an hour, or we need you for 2 hours. Can you come and do some commercial photography for us? But my video stuff tends to be measured in days or half days. And so, like, you do a job for film, for some online content for a local bank or whoever the client is, you're looking at a minimum of a half day. And therefore, would I like to do 5 one-hour jobs, or would I like to do 1 half-day job? It's easy, because the other thing about film is that you're working with a group of people. Now that is at a certain level, okay? So you start off by yourself, and it's just like your photography. But at some point in time, you're going to realize that you're going to need someone who just does the sound, because you can't look over all the sound and all the video. And then you think, well, I'm busy trying to capture what's in the camera. I need someone to operate a second camera, and I need someone to produce this. I don't want to spend a week making phone calls and getting, permits from the councils and arranging this, that, and the other. So you need a producer, and all of a sudden you surround yourself with this group of people, and you've got a production company. Now, that's a long way down the track for a lot of photographers, but that's what I love about what I'm doing right now, is that I'm now working with a team of people, and I get to either be the director, or I get to be the director of photography, or I sometimes just get to be the camera operator, and that's fun too. And so you have a defined role, and you're part of a team, and you're talking of jobs that are half days or days or 3 days or 5 days. That's much more fun than a stupid 1 hour shoot of someone giving a speech. It's heaps better.
Yeah. I find
so. Ollie, I've got a quick question for you, Ollie. How many members of a production team do you need to make a Meet the Master video?
What you need is an idea for a Meet the Master video that doesn't take 6 months.
I think Gina's got a new course for that, right?
Yeah.
What I found is you need to shoot about 10 different versions of it, and then throw them all away and go, oh, to hell with it. Just film it. Now, I don't know how many shots.
Wise words from Mason. Just do it.
With GoPros mounted in front of me, talking to the GoPro, going, wow, rah, 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 this is the things I've done. And I'm like, God, I wouldn't want to watch that. Why would anyone else? It was funny when I saw that assignment. I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. We'll just do a 5-minute introductory video, and then you realize that you're not as interesting as you think you are, and you got to come up with something better.
Yeah, unfortunately for me and everyone who knows me, who wants me to get a Meet the Master video, the idea that I had literally is taking me months, and it'll all make sense when it comes out of the wash at the other end. But yeah, I should have just chosen a handheld selfie option, because I would have had it done ages ago.
Ollie, is your Meet the Master video going to involve a lot of Lego figures?
It can if you want it to.
Because I see a whole, platoon back there lined up on your desk. Are you doing the next Lego movie, or what's going on?
Well, I kind of just went through a phase of just rediscovering Lego and what it meant to me as a child, and to have it mixed with Star Wars, I couldn't say no. And my kids have just jumped on it, and they love playing with it, and we actually use it as a tool for good behavior now. So if you're good and you eat your dinner, you can play with the TIE Fighter.
And so Dad keeps them all at work on his desk, and he brings them home one figure at a time. If you eat your peas,
well, no,
I'll bring home a stormtrooper.
There's some at home.
100 stormtroopers on my desk, and you can have one of them.
For every year that you're good.
Yes. Yes, Cooper is discovering Legos too, and he's loving them, and it's been wonderful for me, because it was my favorite toy by far as a child, and to see him kind of dive into it. And I'm on the floor going, no, you got to do this. And he's like, no, I just want to stick a couple pieces together and play with them. I'm like, yeah, but look at all this other stuff you can do. I want him to be 8 so he can do the advanced sets.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was a patch of me trying to get the kids to help build this stuff. And Josh has just turned 7, and he had an attention span of about 3.5 minutes. And it just meant that he'd do some, and then he'd get bored and he'd walk away, and I'd just do the rest. So I just kind of caught the bug by default.
They're pretty cool. Now, the question is, have you seen the Lego movie?
Oh, hell yeah. About 50 times. I have children, you realize.
I just watched the first half of it on the flight. I have it on my iPad, and I didn't get a chance to finish it yet. But I was blown away by how cool it was. You know, it was so... Yeah. Like the explosions were actual little Lego pieces. It wasn't like an explosion. It was, you know, the CGI on it is stunning. Stunning.
There's some interesting stuff on YouTube by the people who made it. I was hoping it was going to be a bit more child friendly. There's a video I saw on the making of the Lego movie, but it was basically the design team, and I think they're all Australian, unfortunately. They were talking about how the process they had to go through it, and the idea of having particle effects, but instead of it being smoke or clouds or whatever, fire, it was actually blocks, and they had to all the physics around building the blocks that worked and make them all fit together, and you had to have the physics of how they would fall, and they were talking about when Lego breaks, it doesn't break into a million pieces, it breaks into clumps.
Right.
And if you drop this a finished model, pieces will fall off, like entire sections, and so they actually had to build that in to the computer programming they were doing so that they could actually make it look real. But man, I totally agree. It's so realistic.
So cool. You know, I was looking at that, and there's a production company here in Portland called Leica Studios. They did Paranorman and Box Trolls, and Coraline was their first movie. And they do 3D printing. So all their stuff it looks like claymation, but it's all 3D printed figures.
Wow.
And they use, I think they bought like 200 Canon 1DXs or something like that to shoot the footage. And these cameras have, you know, really high frame counts on them, but they've never been touched. They're all just set up on these remote racks, and they have all these you know, arrays of cameras, and they print these figures and they position them and do the stop motion stuff, and it's amazing. It takes them years to make a movie, and it's all done here in Portland, which is bizarre because we're not known for our production houses, but it's pretty cool. I'd love to go stand in there and watch them do that for a day. It'd be really cool.
Ollie, have you seen have you seen the Lego story, the making of it, like how it actually started on YouTube at all?
I've read things about where it all started, and was it from an artist who photographs miniature Lego scenes?
No,
is that where it came from?
Well, this is an animation, so I'll put the link in the chat, but it's actually really good. If you haven't seen it, it's about 17 minutes. It's worth the 70 minutes of your life to watch it because it's awesome. It's really good.
Cool. Right. Stuart, can you add that to the text on the actual event page, in case anyone out there is still watching, other than Tanya, who's giving me stick about. Now, Tanya, I have to give Tanya some credit here. She sent me Tanya, how do you say it? So she sent me a video that she'd made of some stop motion Lego. So when I start up my Sphere 2, she's going to be on the invite list of people who want to come in and do film, because she's already shown a great interest, so that'll be cool. You off, David?
I'm afraid I need to run along, but I was going to say thank you so much, all, and congratulations, Mason, well deserved.
Thanks, David. You have a good time in the Arctic, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Jealous. See you, buddy.
Bye.
Now that's a cool guy. I could say that now that he's gone, but that's a cool guy there.
Yeah,
Gina's cool too. I wish I would have said that about her too, but So yeah, Ollie, do you dabble at all in stop motion stuff, or is that just something that you?
No, I've done a lot of time lapse, but not stop motion. Partly what this in the background you see there is for is the idea of stop motion. I want to be able to dabble in it enough to then be able to learn enough to then be able to be a master in it, so that people who want to do stop motion can come along and do it. In fact, I'm considering doing a stop motion Lego sphere, and that's the fun thing, man. You can just do whatever you want, right? You could just create a sphere of how to bake bacon and egg pies, and just people can just bake pies for 10 levels, and it's cool.
I think you'd fill up a cohort on a stop motion Lego sphere. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have a bunch of people going, let me rush through the first 20 levels so I can get to that.
And that's the thing, is that once we have stuff like that up there at Sphere 2, people are going to want to rush through the first 20 levels. So we're heading that way.
Yeah. So cool. Well, I probably should sign off too. I feel guilty. My wife's putting my son to bed. He's in there throwing a fit. So, but thanks, Ollie, for hosting this. It's really I've done 4 of these now, and you've done 2 of them. It's been really nice. So it's nice to hang out with you, and I don't miss that Trey guy at all. But I do miss Gino.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to say, I saw your wife walk past before, and that's actually the first time, so she does exist. That's amazing. You haven't just stolen those children. But I was wondering, at some point, we should do like a hangout where we get our partners to come on, because, I know I can speak for myself when I say that my wife deals with a lot of crap so that I can do this stuff. So thank you to all the partners out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. She rushes home from work so I can come on here, and I know she's got stuff she's got to do for tomorrow that she's probably had to cram in to get home on time. Yeah. So it's a good idea, Ollie.
Much love.
I think our spouses are very patient people.
Yeah, probably the least interested in coming on camera, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not. My wife doesn't own a camera, has no interest in photography, couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Yep. Thinks it's fun. Thinks it's cute that I do it, better this than fantasy football or something, I guess. So. No offense to the fantasy football people out there, losers.
Like Gina.
Yeah,
All right, thanks for coming on, Mason. Glad you won one finally after half a dozen attempts.
Yeah, really cool. It's nice. I got to say though. And I think we've all expressed this before. All the masters have been on the show. This competition isn't really a competition. It's so nice to see the work of other apprentices and have a chance to watch other masters kind of express their pride in the work that their cohorts do. Because every single day that I get in the communities and look at the stuff that they're doing, I'm so humbled and amazed that they are. That they're learning anything with me, because they all seem like they have so much talent and work ethic. It's just incredible. And you see somebody like Bruce, who has been taking photographs for a lot longer than I have, and who's successful in many ways, say, yeah, I think I could learn something from somebody else. It really is. It's very affirming for what we're doing, and I think that. While it's nice to have a win, I joke about losing all the time, but I didn't mind.
We joke about a lot, and I think that could be potentially where a lot of confusion comes from people watching who aren't in the Arcanum, is that they don't kind of get that this is all a joke.
Yeah.
And that we're all celebrating each other's work, and on another day with another master with another image, your image may have not have won, and it's just how it is, and it's just a bit of fun. So.
Yeah, the only person that takes this seriously is Jessica Lark, and I'm kidding, Jessica. I'm kidding. Don't kill me.
She's apparently defriended me after I had to cast the winning vote on the last show I was on, and
Oh, really?
I literally haven't heard from her since then. So I think I'm not in her good books now.
She might have dissolved her cohorts and left the Arcanum. It might be that serious. You're gonna have to take on like dozen boudoir photographers in your cohort there.
As long as it's stop motion Lego boudoir, I can do that.
You better go grab that domain name real quick before Stuart does.
We just have the show title for this week. Stop motion
we do.
Lego boudoir.
I have a Princess Leia in a like a bikini outfit figure, so that'll work.
Oh.
Lying all over Jabba the Hutt.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Mason.
Clicking up against Jabba. But thanks, you guys. Thanks, Stu. Thanks, Jack. See you later,
Always a
Les.
pleasure.
Bye, Mason.
Ciao. See ya.
Congratulations.
All right, boys. It's you and me. This could be the last ever Creation Wars. Who knows?
So, Ollie, how are you looking at it from the point of view? I know we talk of the apprentices moving through to level 20 and so on, but with three of us sitting there that were apprentices who are still wanting to keep going, so I'll speak for Wes and I guess Wes and Mark, but I still see myself as an apprentice as well. It's kind of one of, I won't say a draw card, but I do know some of the apprentices in my cohort are saying, when are you into level 20? When are you hitting Sphere 2 as well? Because it's kind of where we've gone with it all. It's, to me, that's very interesting where we're heading with that.
I think Pete says it best when he says that everyone in the Arcanum is an apprentice, and some of us are masters. Because that's how it is, we're okay. At the moment, I don't have a master. That I'm not in the master's cohort. But having said that, this whole thing is a big mastery cohort, and we're kind of all under Pete in a way. That's how I kind of feel.
Same.
But at some point, I'll be joining another master's cohort, and I'll be being an apprentice, learning, upping my skills, and learning that kind of stuff. It's just that we're so in the infancy stage, man. We're still not out of our nappies, like we've just learned to eat. And, babies, when they learn to eat real food, it all turns to cack, man. We've got to get through this stage right now so that we can build and grow and all the rest of it. Now, I'm hoping that I can stay on the wave and I can be at level 40 or level 50 or level 60 master. But at the same time, I definitely, I want to go into Gina's cohort and learn what she knows about cinematography, because that's going to help me in my business. And I want to go and learn what Ron knows and A.D. Wheeler and all these guys, all of you guys, man. It's just everyone brings their own little flavor, and I want a part of that. And I'm going to pick and choose my ingredients, and I'm going to make my own cake. So it's going to be fun. But you've got to be in this for the long haul. You've got to look at it as a long-term engagement with the way that you educate yourself.
Yeah. Thinking about AD, I bought his book off the iBook store on the Abandoned Scapes, and some of his work is just amazing. I mean, it sucks you in straight away, and to think what you can learn from that is just amazing. How are you feeling now that you're in level 20 now, Stu?
I've just learned so much in the first 20 levels. It's unbelievable. I mean, looking at sort of the beginning of my level 19 critique the other day, Ollie brought up the pictures from I think it was my level 1 or level 3, I can't remember which of the two, but the difference from there to what we were looking at that I'd submitted for level 19 was just crazy. In fact, some of the stuff that I did way back when was just embarrassingly bad. And at the time I was like, oh, this is amazing, this HDR, and then I was like, oh god, I put that online. It's just been a huge learning experience, not only from what I've gone through with Ollie, but from what I've learned from the other apprentices as well. So in the comments on the images in the different galleries, or watching their critiques and listening to how they set up an image and how they think through things. And I mean, there's people who have similar sort of view of the world to me, but there's also at least one or two of them in Ollie's cohort that are just view things completely differently to me, and that's just as valuable to me to see how they do their stuff as it is to watch someone with a similar idea to myself. So yeah, it's hugely beneficial the whole way through.
Yeah. No, I think now if we can head towards this is just my opinion, but if we can head towards March, end of March, being where Sphere 2 is around about, opening up, then it'll give folks, if they can kind of hit the middle of March, it might just give them a 2-week break to go and level out a little bit, sort their head out and come up with some goals and things like that, and it will help them move forward, getting ready for Sphere 2. I think some underestimate, looking at how hard they're actually working through the foundation spheres, and then to hit Sphere 2 immediately after Sphere 1, it's an entirely different experience. And everybody doesn't know that. The masters do, but the apprentices maybe don't. They're actually going to need, a couple of weeks just to find a centre to chill out and maybe go and connect with families or so on for a little while, and then get stuck into Sphere 2, because it's an entirely different experience.
Yeah, I completely agree. That the kind of enforced downtime is part of the process. And in fact, I have a little hiccup in my Sphere 1. When you graduate into Sphere 1, I insist that you go away for a day. Like, leave the internet completely. Just go and be a human being for a while, because a lot of people get to that level 9 critique and they psych themselves up for it, and then they're really keen to get into the next level. But actually, you need to just congratulate yourself on how far you've come and reset your goals. And hopefully that helps. Everyone seems to be doing well with it, but you need that time, that downtime, to complement the uptime that you're going to be putting into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to my mind, having competed in sport at international level, you get that peak and trough, and nobody, it doesn't matter who it is, no one can maintain or sustain the effort that's required, and we can see it all the time. But when the apprentices are actually putting in 100% or more, I know that's just a saying, but we get it. They do have to just throttle back for a little while and chill out, and then hit that next sphere, that next journey, if you like, with a clear mind of where they're headed. Otherwise, you won't learn. I don't think you won't learn as much as you possibly could from where you're headed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Excuse me for 1 second. I need to deliver something. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Can send it by TIE Fighter.
So what are you up to now?
Did you say that you competed internationally in sports, you said?
Yeah, I did. Thatch, yeah, for a while.
What'd you do?
I was a rifle shooter.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so what did I do? Yeah, a few things. I was silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games, done the World Cup circuits, World Champs, what else? Won nationals and more than, nearly half a dozen times, 5 times, and state champs 12 times in 3 disciplines. So, it was, that's previous life, so it's whatever, but...
Oh, that's great, man. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
Cheers. No, and I think that's what I kind of look at with this. It's the same type of thing. If you haven't been at a high level, like many of the apprentices are actually heading towards, because you're so excited about everything and you want to maintain that, you do have to have someone to just say, no, come back and sit here, just like Ollie's making his apprentices just back off for a day. You have to do that, even though you don't think you need it. And yes, you know yourself better than anybody, of course. However, I think sometimes you've just got to back off for a while and collect yourself and get ready again, because it's a big effort. And I think some people don't get that just yet. Looking at some of the apprentices, they're working so hard, and then they're not realizing that they're actually just grinding away. And if we flip them straight into Sphere 2, they may not get as much out of it as they could do, and that would be a shame.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Robin has us doing something similar, where where once you pass your level 9 critique in level 10, before you even go into level 11, she makes you go back and ultimately look back on basically your life and just talk about the things you're good at and just kind of do a reflection just to see where you've come, and it's pretty humbling and interesting just to think that way, because I don't think most people do that. I don't think most people reflect on where they've come from or what they've accomplished, and so it's definitely an interesting experience.
Yeah. I think also, this is for some people, it's the first time they've been maybe really good at something that they really, really enjoy or love, or whatever words they use to describe it, and they actually have someone who's helping them do it, so that they're being coached, like they actually have someone to say, I'm going to give you a hand and this is where we're going. And that is so exciting when you can look around and you think there's not only a master standing there, but there's 19 or 20 or however many people in your community. They're all there, and that can just sort of roll you along. But yeah, I love that. I think that's kind of what I miss a little bit, but I kind of get that by de facto, in a sense, running my own community now, or cohort now. But it's not the same. It's not the same as sitting there as an apprentice, of course. But yeah, it's interesting.
Cool.
I spent a lot of time thinking about that. It's to see how people go, and it would, I think, be interesting to see if we had a couple of psychs on board to look at things, to see the peaks and troughs, and how we're actually working and so on. It's probably a couple of PhDs sitting here, that could do it, and or write one on it. It would be very interesting to see what they came up with that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh well, we'll see. So what are you up to now, Jack? What are you doing?
Man, I just I'm at level 11 right now, so
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to just kind of change the way I look at things a bit. I've been mostly kind of a landscape guy, big picture, everything included kind of photographer, and so I'm really using level 11 to try and focus on getting just more details of things. I wouldn't say to the degree of like a macro photographer, but just picking out a subject, just one subject, and just kind of telling the story about that subject. Just ultimately trying to tell a story with my images. I mean, before it was walking out and finding something beautiful and taking a picture, and I love it. I mean, I still love doing that, but I want it to be something more.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, one of the things, Jack, that came up in one of the other creation wars that you might have seen is that John Arnold has a level. In fact, you'll have seen it for some of the guides that are kicking about. But he has a challenge where you have to take this an image of one particular thing 3 times from far away, close up, all that sort of stuff. And that could be really beneficial to you if you haven't tried that already, is to have a little play with that concept.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that come out, and I was just blown away. It was just I thought it was just such a brilliant idea to look at something that way, and I think the way he described it was like a almost like a mystery type movie type thing, right? Where like you kind of get the wide view of 2 people kind of making a deal, then a closer up of like the alley, and then like the actual handing over the papers or something. I think he really set it up well. And cool idea, very cool idea.
I know with I forget which level now, I think it was level 16, level 17. With Verena, I walked out with a 70 to 200 and shot all of my landscapes at 200 mil. And that just forces you to, you just force yourself to see in a different way. And I shot at f2.8 as well, so it was really limited to those 2, and that was it. And you get to see all of these things a way that you may not have seen if you don't force yourself to do it.
Yeah,
when I say
the same
force, I don't mean force yourself, but you limit yourself in a sense.
Yeah, I did the same thing, Les. I went out level 15, I think it was, so just after my level 14 critique, and my goal for that day was just basically I had the 70 to 200 on, and occasionally I had the 1.4 times converter on it just to get that little bit extra, and it was all landscapes using only that lens, and just spent the whole day doing that. And yeah, it really made me have to rethink everything as I was going along, and in fact I got some really good feedback from a whole load of the images for that day, which were really good. And I've since gone on to often reach for that lens when doing landscape, so it just completely changed, because I bought a 17 to 35 thinking I would use that all the time for landscapes, and then I'd say it's at least a 50-50 split now.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm doing the exact same thing right now. I mean, I have a Canon and I also have a Sony, but when I have my Canon on, for the first 6 months that I had it, it was the 16 to 35 all day, every day, and I got the 70 to 200, and I forced myself to use it, and that's what's been on the camera, for the longest time now. I've just been forcing myself to use it just to do exactly that, just see things differently, and it's a cool experience.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I shoot landscapes at 500mm as well. It's, I know it sounds silly, but you just, because it obviously compresses everything really, really well. So your background and everything, it fades away, and you've got a flower sitting there, or a rock, or a tree, or but it works. It really works sometimes. So I think it's the way we obviously see and think about it.
It's almost like an oxymoron to put that lens on to go shoot landscape, right? But
it is. It
just works.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So do we know what Ollie was doing?
He waved what I think was a memory card at the camera and disappeared off into the distance.
I was thinking one of the kids had been good for a 2-hour period, and so he was going to deliver one of those Lego stormtroopers.
He's gone to see Fabio.
So how long does it take you to edit all of this, Stu?
It's not too bad, actually. It's I know roughly, obviously, from being in the show, where things have happened, so that makes a big difference, and I can just take some rough guesses at where things happen. But it's just like every other video. It's the rendering time that's the big drain, but I can obviously multitask at the same time. But go in, put all the images in, overlaid onto the video, that lets the people who watch the edited show see things in a much better quality, because when you watch the live hangout, it's definitely there's a lot of artifacting and compression and things going on with the images that people see, so it's nice to get a nice high-res version. It's a shame that these hangouts aren't in 1080. They're always limited to 720, even when you go to upload the video later on, you're obviously limited to 720 again. So hopefully at some point Google will change that, and then we'll get even better images, because for a photography-based show, having some high-res images is kind of important. But it's not long. It's half an hour for a couple of videos, and then the upload time and the render time. So reasonably simple. I have the process pretty much nailed down now for what I need to do, and it's a nice easy task for me nowadays.
Yeah.
I could take that in as one of my projects for Ollie's Sphere 2 video cohort.
Okay.
Look what I can do.
Windows or PC or Mac based?
I'm using Windows, and I know a lot of people like to use the Adobe software, but I actually use PowerDirector because it's super simple to get stuff done. You can get so lost in many of the Adobe applications, and Premiere being one of them. So PowerDVD does a lot of the key stuff really quickly, and it also does things like it uses the acceleration from the video card to speed up the rendering and things like that. So I can throw it in there, and it even has a little wizard at the end if you want to use it, where it actually automatically uploads to YouTube. So you can type in your YouTube details, and it just fires it onto your channel for you and stuff like that. So it's really handy.
And what do you think of the new? Well, it's not new, is it really? But the Haswell with the extreme CPU and things like that with the it's X99, isn't it now?
Yes, I have that very system sitting over there in the corner of my room. It's something I get to play with for work, and I reviewed the X99 and the new chips on launch day, and yeah, really good. It's obviously you pay a lot of money for the high-end model, but this is the first of the extreme kind of high-end ones in a while that's been worthwhile to buy over the mid-range sort of the socket 1150 or whatever it is nowadays. So you really notice it now. They've improved the speed. You've got the Status 3 and you've got DDR4 and all that combining now, and the M2 SSDs that have come along now that have really boosted the speed of all the drives. So it's yeah, it makes a difference for this platform. Anyone on the older platforms, so X58, X79, all that stuff is well worth going with the X99 now, whereas before it wasn't too much of a bump from one to the other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Mac guy, I guess, but yeah, interesting to see where the PC platform's going with all of this, because it's, you know, we're kind of using last generation tech in the Macs, and because of the way, you know, they're developed, I suppose. But yeah, it's interesting to see where people are going with the PC.
Yeah, I think when the Mac builds take on the new X99 chipset and stuff, you'll notice a really big bump for anyone that's using that platform. It'll be really good.
Yeah.
Ollie, you're back.
Hello. Thank you for holding. My producer grabbed me and took me away, so there's nothing I could do. That's what producers do. So yeah, I had pictures of you guys all running out of things to say and saying goodbye and leaving, and then this live feed of my Lego collection going out for ages. It's been really
we had a lot of insults to throw your direction, so we got on fine.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can see you're still here, so that was good. Very nice. Yeah, it was a good show today, guys. Thank you very much for your help. And for coming on, Liz, it's good. And Stuart and Thatch, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, pleasure. I'm sure that there was actually another hangout I was supposed to be doing in preparation for next week's gathering that is happening. I haven't had a single message to say, Ollie, where are you? So I'm just going to have to wait and see what happens with it.
I know that Tanya disappeared off, so it's not on just now, I can tell you that.
Yeah, she went to go and get her kids or something, so... Oh, well.
Yeah.
All's well that ends well then, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, I must say, I was stoked that we were 5 minutes early. How's that?
That was impressive. I'm thinking it came from that amazing itinerary that you sent out that said, this is where we need to be at whatever time, right?
Yeah, we had that last time, but we were still miles over.
Then it must have just been Gino.
It must have just been Gino. No, we started off, the whole idea of introducing everyone from my side of it is just so that you all don't waffle on for ages about, you know, blah, 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 blah. People know who you are, they've seen you before, they don't want to hear about it again. But I kept looking over to see on my little list of what times things should be happening. I'm like, oh, we're actually running to schedule. So that was pretty cool. Well done.
Very good.
Are you guys going to keep chatting, or is Stuart going to bed?
Yeah, I might get out of here because it's getting pretty warm in here now. It's CPU's starting to scream at me a little bit, so no aircon in here because it's too noisy. So
dude, how can you? You need to do that piped air conditioning stuff where you have the engine out the back and then the cold pipe through the house. And just
it's
your head.
rented house, so limited. Yeah.
The life of a photographer.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming. It's great to have you.
Cheers.
See you next time.
All right.
On the Muppet Show.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.
Take care.